Hey, it's Fabian, and this is my Miss Universe 2024 thoughts and reactions. And I first just want to start off by congratulating Victoria from Denmark. Congratulations for becoming the very first Miss Universe from Denmark. I'm so happy for you. Also, a big congratulations to the other girls that made it into the top 5, with a special shout out to our first runner-up, Chidima from Nigeria. Chichi, I'm so glad that you proven me wrong and made it so far. I'm just so happy because I know that Chidima has worked so hard and it's been such a difficult journey for her. I first talked about Chichi in my second video ever about sure placers, and I'm just so happy for her. You know, I also talked about Victoria in that video, and they're actually in the thumbnail right next to each other. Isn't that crazy? But congratulations to our Continental Queens. I'm just so glad that the organization is also highlighting other girls. Hopefully they'll be able to provide all 5 of them with everything that they need during their trips. I say that because looking at how this edition went, I don't know how Miss Universe is gonna be doing financially. I mean, this edition was sort of a train wreck, let's be honest. I mean, I'm very happy for all of the women that placed, but I'm more happy that everybody finally gets to leave. I mean, guys, like, these girls were stuck in a hotel room for 2 weeks. I have a lot to say about this edition, so let's get into it. And we're gonna start off by going back, way back to the beginning. So, at last year's Miss Universe edition in El Salvador, it was revealed in a video message by Raul Rocha that the next Miss Universe edition would be held in Mexico. This message was reminiscent of the message that Nayib Bukele delivered when he announced at the 71st edition of Miss Universe in New Orleans that Miss Universe would be taking place in El Salvador in 2023. So after seeing Raul's message that was delivered in a similar fashion, I got excited for what was to come because, after all, the edition in El Salvador was an absolute success. Little did I know, it was probably a huge success because it was Paula's last year. So right before that edition, though, it was announced that the owner of the Miss Universe organization, Anne, was likely going bankrupt, or at least her company was, and she was taking preventative measures. Soon after last year's Miss Universe edition, 50% of the organization was sold to Raul Rocha. Now, I have no idea on how early in the works this was, as if, or if this was decided like before it was announced that Miss Universe was taking place in Mexico. But I think it was. I think all of this was planned ahead of time. I think that the announcement just came after the fact. But with the issues that she was facing in her own company, JKN, and seemingly took more of a backseat when it comes to Miss Universe. The crowned winner, Sheynnis Palacios, was seen mostly with Olivia Quilo, the vice president of the Miss Universe organization. In addition, everything that was regarding the 73rd edition's press was being handled by Raul. The informational press conference, which was revealing the format, was held in Mexico City by Raul in Spanish. In addition, way before this press conference, Osmel Sosa was hired as the advisor to the president of the Miss Universe organization, which is Raul Rocha. Although Anne and Raul were sharing the role of president, it seems that Raul was taking more of a lead for this edition. I think another important thing to note is that sometime after Sheynnis was crowned, a leaked video came out showing a meeting at the Miss Universe organization, in which Anne was saying that married women and mothers could compete, but they couldn't win. And I think that regardless of how happy I am that Victoria won, I think that her selection only highlights this point. Don't forget that the first runner-up, Chichi, is a mother herself, and although she arguably gave a better response than Victoria, she still fell short of the crown. And I know that's had a lot of people with a sour taste in their mouth. And to add insult to injury, in a press conference the night of Victoria's crowning, Anne was asked how she plans to use the Miss Universe brand to further evolve beauty pageants. And Anne responded that having crowns a blonde with blue eyes is the ultimate evolution. And honestly, Anne should never be allowed near a microphone. She only continues to sully the reputation of the organization, and just everybody involved, everybody associated just looks bad. I feel so bad that Victoria has to be associated with these people that clearly don't understand the first thing about women's empowerment or like even championing integrity. I honestly would like to take this moment and say to Anne and Raul, give it up. Just give it up. Just step down and sell the company to somebody else. This edition was just riddled with controversy from the jump. The Gala de Catrinas, that was the inaugural event of this edition, in which the girls all showcased gowns inspired by the Mexican tradition of Dia de Muertos, was just an absolute disaster. This event was honestly laughable. It was just clearly unrehearsed and very poorly planned. The girls walked in too fast and then like just got lined up in the queue, and then they just started getting rushed through, and then at the end a few girls that hadn't made it through yet just soaked up the spotlight. Well, I guess the moment, because there was no spotlight, the lighting was terrible, and like even worse than the lighting was the live recording. Like, what? There was just no production value whatsoever. It was just embarrassing. I remember sitting there and thinking like, God, I hope my abuela is just not watching Telemundo right now. And if she is, I hope she's asleep, because this is awful. Now, it was also at this point that most pageant fans noticed the absence of Panama's Italy Mora, and it was soon revealed that Italy had been disqualified for leaving her room and going into the room of someone outside of the organization. It has been revealed that she went to the room of her boyfriend, who was staying at the same hotel. She said that she went to go grab a few things. Now, before I get into my thoughts on that whole situation, I do want to give you guys some more context on the situation that these girls were in. These girls traveled from all across the world to go to Mexico City and spent over 2 weeks stuck in their hotel rooms. I kid you not. So, Daniela De Giacomo, she's Miss International 2006, and she made this video in which she was saying that she actually talked to some of the girls, and the girls told her, so this is coming from the girls, that the Miss Universe organization was negligent in their handling of the contestants. Allegedly, there was no water available for the girls or the makeup artists when they were getting glammed up, and some of the girls apparently were even hospitalized due to dehydration. Also, the girls often wouldn't even have food available in time for them to eat before starting their activities, which would lead them to eat their food after the fact, and then their food wasn't even that good. Apparently, they also weren't able to complain about the food selection. If they were vegetarian and got served meat, well, tough shit. Apparently, the girls also even found bugs in some of the food, which is like not acceptable, like in any scenario. Like, some people will complain about how bad the production quality was for Miss Earth, but at least the girls were safe. At least those girls had fun and they got to explore a new country. Like, the girls at Miss Universe were in hotel for days and rarely got to go out and do anything exciting. Like, only a select few girls were chosen to go out to these trips to Guadalajara and Yucatan. Like, it was like maybe 6 or 8 girls per group, and while these girls were living it up in these having like lavish meals, the girls were back in the hotel literally starving, just waiting around. Like, they wouldn't let they'd be like, hey girls, you need to be ready by 6 a.m. and then the girls would be like waiting around 12 p.m. and be like, what was the point of even getting up at 6 a.m.? Like, what? They didn't do anything for those 6 hours? So, also, I'm just like, what? Yeah, I don't know how you explain it. Like, maybe Italy was just trying to grab some water. So, also, Italy wasn't the only contestant that didn't get to compete, Elona from Kosovo injured her leg and she wasn't able to make it to preliminaries, and Mia from South Africa suffered a severe ear infection and was unable to participate in prelims either. There's rumors that even more girls got sick. I heard that some got gastrointestinal sickness, and that, you know, this type of situation is only going to be exacerbated by bad nutrition and little access to water. I mean, these girls are coming from different countries and like are exposed to different like just bacteria that they're not usually exposed to. Like, traveling to new countries does expose you to different types. It just is a big risk for your health sometimes, and if you don't take the proper precautions in your nutrition and your health, then you can get sick. And if a lot of these girls got sick, it's on the Miss Universe organization because they weren't providing them with the necessary food and water. What? Apparently, Celine from the Dominican Republic lost 3 kilos. That's about 6 pounds. And guys, like, these girls are working so hard to like be at the perfect weight when they go to Miss Universe. Like, they're not trying to lose more weight. Like, Daniela de Giacomo, the girl who made that video that like revealed all of these things that I'm mentioning, she also said that she noticed that Ileana Marquez was way skinnier than when she had last saw her. I think that the fact that there's so many rumors going around that the girls received mistreatment is just only going to substantiate the negligence that the Miss Universe organization demonstrated. I mean, if there's smoke, there's fire. I'm just so glad that the girls are finally free and have finally gotten to escape the clutches of this evil Miss Universe edition from hell. Praying that the winner and the Continental Queens have a good tour. But Daniela de Giacomo also did reveal in that video that she heard that Sheynnis went to the when Sheynnis went to the Cannes Film Festival in France, that she made it to the top of the stairs, and that the Miss Universe organization didn't provide her with tickets to go in, so she was turned back. And she told the person at the security guard, like, hey, I can't go back down those steps. Do you have any idea how big of a controversy that is? Like, so they actually sneaked her out through the back. And I'm just like, what? Like, there's girls that were competing at this edition that went to Cannes and probably got in. And you're saying that the Miss Universe organization wasn't able to get Sheynnis Miss Universe in? What? If they didn't have everything that they needed to provide Sheynnis with, how are they going to have everything that they need for Victoria, Chichi, Chelsea, Tati, and Matilda? Like, from my understanding, the Continental Queens are going to be going on tour as well. So are they going to be able to give them everything that they need? Like, oh, goodness, I haven't even started talking about the pageant itself, but like, no, I can't even get into that yet because so much happened. They like royally messed this up so bad. I still have more to say. So, Anne and Osmel also got into a controversy right before the edition started, in which they had made a video talking about the girls' headshots and saying which ones they liked and didn't. And in this video, they say they didn't like Miss Philippines and that they didn't like Miss Lebanon, which is like absolutely insane. Like, it's completely unprofessional for somebody that's working in this organization to be expressing things like this publicly, let alone to post it online. Are you guys like, have you guys lost it? So, as damage controls, they put out this video, this promotional video where they were trying to advertise the Miss Universe app where you can make a top 10. So they were making a top 10 by going through the pictures, and they were like, oh, I actually like Miss Philippines, she's so gorgeous. And then they went to Miss Lebanon and we were like, oh, somebody was like, I don't like her picture. And they were just doubling down on the fact that they don't like this girl. So Nala from Lebanon put out a statement saying that she's not gonna go to Mexico unless the Miss Universe organization issues an apology. And she literally goes to the airport and then goes back because they hadn't issued the apology. So she, then they're just like, okay, we're gonna issue an apology, like, please don't drop out. And they apparently issued an in-person apology. But it's just like this whole situation was completely unnecessary, and it just shows a complete lack of respect that these people have for these girls. Also, on the night, on finals night, and during the Telemundo telecast, like the one that's in Spanish, they asked Osmel who his favorites were. And he literally says, "Oh, I can't tell you who my favorites are. Like, because I work for the organization, that wouldn't be professional of me." And then he hands them a sealed envelope with what his predictions are so that they can open them the following day. And I just think it's wild that, like, you know, obviously, like, this is Osme showing that he's realized that this whole situation with Nada from Lebanon was, like, messed up. And I'm glad that he said it himself, that it wouldn't be an appropriate thing to do. But I just think that if the person that has grown the most from this situation is Osmel Sosa, that just speaks volumes of the other people leading this organization. Because, like, Osmel does have a reputation for being old-fashioned, but I genuinely do think that he's coming from a well-intentioned place. That's just genuinely how he thinks. But Anne and Raul, I just don't know. I genuinely just don't think that they care about these girls at all, or the organization at all. The organization just needs new leadership as soon as possible. Okay, let's get into the pageant. Well, let's get into prelims first. God, prelims was a train wreck. I won't spend too much time into it because I did post a full prelims full prelims reaction, so check that out. But I just want to say that it's clear as day that they barely planned out these preliminaries, like, in the slightest bit. I know that the evening gown was added in last minute because of the backlash that they received after announcing that there wouldn't be evening gown at preliminaries, and it really shows that it was added in last minute. Like, I'm so confused. Like, did evening gown count? Like, was it scored? Did national costume get scored? From the results of finals, like, it seems like evening gown did get scored. And, like, it's just, also the way that they asked the girls to perform for swimsuit was so disappointing. Like, they essentially just walked up and stood there. Like, they didn't have, like, compelling performances like they did in El Salvador. Like, this preliminary competition was just so disappointing, and it just made it really difficult to figure out who they were going to be. Like, it just made it really difficult to figure out how and what they were actually evaluating. Also, whoever was directing the camera work needs to be fired. Absolute garbage. Okay, now let's talk about the final show itself. So I missed the opening trying to find a actual stream of the show. So I'm just gonna focus on what I saw because I know a lot of people out there had the exact same issue. There was no live stream offered by the Miss Universe page, even though they said that they'd be posting one. I started watching around, like, right before they started announcing the top 30. I was super happy for the girls that made it in. I think that the only genuine surprise for me was Hazel from Nicaragua. I wasn't really expecting her, but maybe she's just one of my blind spots. I talked about Hazel in my second video titled Unexpected Top 30, so it's funny that she was actually an unexpected addition to the top 30. Other than that, everybody else were people that had relatively vocal fan bases. Even Macau, her steady fan base of supporters was always going off saying that she was a dark horse, and I did have Cassandra on my radar because I did know that some people were expecting her to do well. I do think that she had a nice evening gown presentation. So congrats to all of the girls that made it in. It was super well deserved. I think that the biggest surprises that didn't make it into the top 30, however, were, at least for me, were Stephanie Cam from Honduras and Michelle Jimenez from Spain. And obviously also Luana Cavalcante from Brazil was a super big surprise to not make it in. I wasn't that shocked with the non-placements of Daniela Tolosa from Colombia and Alma Cooper from the USA, but they certainly did make me sad. It certainly did make me sad for them because I know that they've just worked so hard and they really did give it their all. I am super happy for Kaya from Japan. She was one of my sentimental favorites, and seeing her genuine surprise and gratitude when she made it into the top 30 was just so exciting to see. Fun fact, the last time that Japan competed at Miss Universe, they won. And Another fun fact, the last time that Denmark had placed was when they competed in Mexico in 2007. I was so happy to see a nuke from Aruba making it in, so deserving, such a compelling story. I first talked about a nuke in my very first video about crown contenders, and I think finally seeing her place after her previous attempts at other competitions was just so satisfying. Sandra making it in was so great to see after so many years of Malaysia trying to like finally get their second placement, so she should be so proud of herself. Davin from Cambodia making it just filled my heart with joy. Seeing Cambodia finally get their first placement after trying so hard every year, it's just great to see. Ivana from Serbia getting called was super special. I think that she was a fan favorite from the start, and just finally seeing her get a placement after competing at other competitions and aging out was also so amazing to see. I was so happy to see Indira from France make it in. She was someone who had the beauty and the charisma to win the whole thing in my eyes. Rhea from India was also a super deserved placer and a super standout from prelims. Matilda from Finland was a fan favorite from the moment that she was crowned, and it was no surprise to see her make it in. I almost cried when I saw Cuba make it in after so many years. I just know it means so much to the people of Cuba to be highlighted in this way. Marianela is going to go down in history, and I just love her so much. Logina from Egypt was such a special placement. She really stood out from the jump. I remember seeing the delegates from Miss Universe Egypt when they were first announced, and I was like, oh yeah, Logina's the one that's going to go to Miss Universe. And she did, and she gave Egypt their first placement, which, fun fact, the very last winner of the international pageant of pulchritude, which is what Miss Universe is actually based off of, was Egypt. Her name was Charlotte Wassef, Miss Universe 1935. If you didn't know, I'm a huge pageant history nerd. But back to the girls in the top 30. I wasn't surprised to see Jia Qi from China make it in. I think that she really stood out, and I think that she really tried her best, and she had done a really great effort. I also really like that Jia was just always so positive and happy, so I'm glad for Jia. I hope her country is proud of her. And I'm also very happy for Ki from Vietnam for making it in. I can tell that she really wanted this so bad. I'm a bit worried that she didn't enjoy the experience to the fullest because she was so focused, but I'm glad that it paid off for her. And she also had one of my favorite national costumes. Of course, I was also happy to see Sakila make it in, but I was sad to not see her make it further. She was one of the ones that I saw winning. Sakila also had one of the most beautiful gowns that I saw in evening gown personally, so it was a shame that we didn't get to see what she would have worn. Same with Mara from Ecuador. I was really expecting to see her make it further, and I think that she was a sure placer for top 30. She was one of the biggest contenders for this edition, a huge fan favorite, always the people's princess, so sweet, so nice, just a great story, one of my favorites. Oh, and obviously Chelsea was an obvious placer. I know a lot of people are shocked to see that she didn't make it any further, and admittedly I am too, but I do think that her preliminary performance was stronger, and this is highlighted by the fact that Chelsea actually was the biggest standout in Asia in prelims, as she was appointed as Miss Universe Asia based off of her prelim performance, just like Matilda from Finland, who was appointed Miss Universe Europe and Middle East. I would also say that the ultimate dark horse of the night was Valentina from Russia, who made it all the way into the top 12. I was very excited to see who the surprise choice for the top 12 was gonna be, and honestly it did catch me off guard when it was Valentina, but with how just astonishing her figure is, I'm not surprised that she made it past the swimsuit round considering the way that swimsuit was judged. I do think that top 12 was when most people felt like certain girls were robbed. Selena Santos from Dominican Republic, Chelsea from the Philippines, Mara from Ecuador, Rhea from India, Sakile from Zimbabwe, all girls people were shocked to not see advancing. Ashley Collingbull from Canada has received a lot of unwarranted hate due to her placement in particular, by some people that think that she took Celine's spot. And I just think that it's so sad to see. Like, why do we have to tear down girls that have no control over the judges' decisions? I included Ashley in my very first video along Celine as crown contenders, as I thought that both of them had what it took to win. And I think that Ashley was deserving of her spot. If she had a better gown selection, maybe she could have gone all the way. I mean, she's an amazing speaker after all. That being said, I can't deny that I was super shocked that Celine didn't make it into the top 12. Even in finals, I think that she was one of the standout performances in swimsuit. I was obviously over the moon that Jennifer Colon made it into top 12. I was so happy, but then I was quickly devastated when I saw her gown selection, because the gown that she wore in prelims was clearly the right choice. I think her prelims dress was actually meant to be her finals dress, because I remember her saying that her finals dress was made by a Thai designer, and the blue dress that she wore was made in collaboration with the art college in San Juan back in Puerto Rico. Regardless of that, I'm just so proud of Jenny for making it all the way into top 12. I'm also just so happy that Puerto Rico now has the longest active placement streak at Miss Universe right now, with 7 consecutive placements. And I am so excited to see who our next representative is gonna be. Tatiana Calmel was not a surprise at top 12 at all, but her exclusion from top 5 caught a lot of people off guard, but I have to admit that the competition was super tight. Tati was one of the standouts from the Americas in prelims, and she was appointed Miss Universe Americas. I was so happy for Juliana from Bolivia. She was just such a great delegate. She worked so hard and her gown was just gorgeous. I loved seeing how happy and grateful she was to have made it in. Magali from Argentina wasn't in my final predictions, but honestly, it's not surprising at all that she made it this far. I did have her in my top 5 for my pre-preliminary standouts after all. And like, Magali was the standouts of preliminary evening gowns. I just wasn't sure if those performances counted, so I didn't count them as a part of my preliminary evaluation. Magali is just so regal. I honestly thought that she had a genuine chance of getting into the top 5. She should really be so proud of herself. And probably some people's biggest surprise for missing out on that top 5 spot was Emilia Dides from Chile, who I will admit did such a spectacular job. After finals, actually, Emilia actually said that she's interested in doing Miss Grand next year, and I hope that she does, because she would do so well. I could fully see Emilia winning Miss Grand, and I think that she'd also fully win Grand Voice. It's almost unfair to have her compete in that. I do think that honestly everything happens for a reason, and to all of the Chileans out there, don't be sad, just be so proud of Emilia, and just know that this is only the beginning for her. Continue to support this amazing woman. She's really only going to become more and more successful. Okay, and before we move on into the top 5, can I just say that selecting Robin Thicke for a platform focused on women empowerment was so tone deaf, considering the controversy regarding him and Emily Ratajkowski, who he allegedly groped without her consent. And honestly, the performance just paled in comparison to the artistry of John Legend that John Legend displayed last year during evening gown competition. Like, what? It was just not that great. Also, the lighting was just awful the entire night, and the stage. Like, God, I hated the stage. It just didn't even look expensive or high-end like the one from last year at all. Like, geez, like, Miss Cosmo's stage was leagues better, not to mention Miss Grand with the elevating platforms and the slow motion cameras. Like, that really put Miss Universe to shame this year. It just all looked super basic. It was giving early 2000s stage. Okay. Now, our top 5 was Ileana from Venezuela, Oprah from Thailand, Fernanda from Mexico, Chichi from Nigeria, Victoria from Denmark, and I think it's a pretty good top 5. I knew that if Maria Fernanda did a decent enough job in evening gown, that she was gonna make that top 5. And I said so in my predictions, where I put her in number 12. I do think that her gown was gorgeous, but it wasn't anything particularly like groundbreaking. I was a bit underwhelmed with Ileana's gown choice since it was a silver dress, but you can't deny that she just has the Miss Universe aura. Victoria, I think, was a clear top 5 placer. Her making it in wasn't a surprise at all. Her pink gown was like a sure standout. When she came out, it was really mesmerizing. I think that she was really playing into the like recent Barbie frenzy. Chi-Chi's dress was really gorgeous and it was definitely a standout. I really liked the like lime green. It was really just unique and eye-catching. I'm also just so happy that Chi-Chi got this redemption. I just can't complain. It's just such a powerful story. She's also like was a standout from Africa at prelims, being appointed Miss Universe Africa and Oceania. And then Opal was in one of the most creative white dresses I've seen in a while. Like the angel wings at the front of the dress were just beautiful. Such a lovely gown. It's no surprise to see Opal in top 5. I had Denmark and Venezuela in my predicted top 5, with Venezuela as my winner. So I was really rooting for Ileana when question and answer was going on, but I was quickly hit with the devastation and the reality that Ileana was not going to be taking home the crown after her interpreter literally gave Ileana the wrong interpretation. Ileana quite literally answered the wrong question, and the interpreter was able to correctly interpret the answer that Ileana provided into English, but she was unable to correctly translate the question in Spanish to Ileana herself. And I just feel so bad for Ileana. She's just like was handed so like I don't know. Ileana is just such a queen. She handled the whole situation with grace, but it's just so unfair. Like, she was not given a fair shot, and because of this, like, her performance just tanked. If she had, like, known what the answers or what the questions were, there's no way that she would have been 5th runner-up or 4th runner-up. Like, there's no way that she would have been in that position, because she just delivered with confidence. Ileana just did give Miss Universe aura, but I don't know. I just don't understand why it's so difficult to find good interpreters. As someone who was fully bilingual, like Spanish is my first language, it just really makes me cringe when I see bad interpretations. I get so mad because like the girls deserve to just be able to trust the interpreters. Maria Fernanda's answers were pretty good. I felt like she had really good reasonings behind them. Opal's answers were quite compelling, and I honestly was so shocked when she was called as 3rd runner-up because I thought that she had some of the best answers. Like, my jaw dropped because I thought that her answers were better than Denmark, Venezuela, and Mexico. And then there is Nigeria and Denmark. So personally, I think Chi-Chi had the best answers in my opinion. Her first answer was a bit too short, but she made up for it for having like the perfect final answer in my eyes. Like, it just literally gave me goosebumps. Victoria's answer was just honestly a bit of a nothing burger. Like, nothing I hadn't heard before. Don't get me wrong, I'm really happy for her, and I knew that there'd be a really big chance to win. Like, after Opal was eliminated, I was like, oh my god, Denmark's gonna win. But like, when I think back on it and I'm like thinking about Chi-Chi's answers, I'm just like, why didn't Chi-Chi win? Like, I don't know. I don't know. But she didn't. Chi-Chi didn't win. Victoria did. And I'm not gonna expend any energy arguing the fact that Victoria won. I think that she's a deserved winner and she's probably gonna do a really good job as Miss Universe. There is one more thing that I do want to discuss, and it's arguably one of the things that disappointed me the most of Miss Universe this year, and it was just how terribly lit Sheynnis' send-off was. Like, I'm guessing they were trying to show like that Sheynnis' dress glowed or something, but it's simply like, why is Sheynnis walking and doing her final walk in the shadows? Like, huh? Sheynnis Palacios has to be one of my favorite Miss Universe winners of all time. She is without a doubt like one of the most humble and sweet winners that we've had. And I just personally think that she probably had to secretly go through a lot under this organization, and she stuck through it all to the end. I feel like Sheynnis isn't the type of person that's gonna reveal everything that's happened to her. I just hope that like it all does come to light, and that the people that care about her and love her, like, will come out and reveal the things that she's told them. Because like, let's take the story that Daniela Di Giacomo said, like, for example, of Sheynnis at Cannes Film Festival. Like, if this is any indicator of how Sheynnis' year went, like, I'm sure it wasn't as great as they were trying to promote it to be on the Miss Universe Instagram page. Like, Sheynnis may be the most traveled Miss Universe in history. And like, yes, that's amazing, but it also must have been super exhausting. Not to mention, like, the whole situation with her family having to flee Nicaragua, the national director not being allowed back to the country after, and then like this is all going on, and like Sheynnis is traveling the world and receiving the love from Nicaraguans everywhere she goes. Like, that can't be easy. Like, it really probably took a toll on her. Like, there's times when Sheynnis just held onto the Nicaraguan flag and cried, and like she was just surrounded by people that loved her, and she was just seemed miserable because, like, I mean, I just feel so bad for Sheynnis. Like, I know it had to be hard. I just hope only love and just happiness for Sheynnis. I just want to say, like, thank you, Sheynnis. Like, thank you so much. You were such an amazing Miss Universe. Thank you for such an amazing year. And thank you to all of the delegates this year. Thank you to Jennifer from Puerto Rico for being such an amazing representative for our island. You did such an amazing job. And also thank you for Alma. I may have not grown up in the US, but like, this is where I live now. And I know that being the girl to break a streak is hard. And I want you to know that, like, I'm grateful for the work that you put out. I know that you've got a lot of challenges ahead of you to face in the remainder of your reign under Layla Rose. So thank you, Alma, and good luck. And well, I guess that's it. That was Miss Universe 2024. I really think that if the Miss Universe organization wants to survive, the owners really need to find somebody else to manage the organization for them, because they are not equipped to do so. Like, they're not good at their jobs. During the press conference after the show, they did announce the Continental Queens that I've already mentioned. Finland was Miss Universe Europe and Middle East. Peru is Miss Universe Americas. Nigeria is Miss Universe Africa and Oceania. And Philippines is Miss Universe Asia. And I think that they're all super amazing queens. Any of them could have really been Miss Universe, but at the end of the day, it was Victoria's destiny. In that press conference, they also announced that the next edition of Miss Universe could also be held in one of the following locations. So Argentina, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, India, Morocco, South Africa, Spain, or Thailand. And they wanted to hear feedback from the public as to where they wanted to have the next edition held. Personally, I would really like it if they did it in the Dominican Republic, because it wouldn't be that cost effective for me. I would also be down to go to Costa Rica, but other than that, everything else sounds a bit too expensive for me, but we'll see how I'm doing around that time next year. I do want to highlight Morocco as one of the options, because Morocco isn't currently represented at Miss Universe or for the past few years. Their last edition was in 2021, so I do think that a comeback for Morocco is likely. I do think, however, that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of countries that participated in this edition don't return. We'll just have to see if some of the national directors like change hands. I also want to mention that they did fail to meet their advertised number of 130 delegates and ended up with 125 delegates in the show after Panama was disqualified and South Africa and Kosovo dropped out. Bahar from Azerbaijan was also expected to compete, and she was even listed in the official program book for this edition, but seemingly dropped out due to unknown reasons, so we may see her participate next year. There were also countries expected to participate this edition after they had their national directors announced on the Miss Universe Instagram page. Haiti's national director, Melissa Prato, was revealed in batch 10. Mayotte national director was Aichat Kamar, which was announced in batch 12, and Saudi Arabia's national director was shown to be Zak Hawa in batch 13. And Saudi Arabia's sash was actually present at Miss Universe. It was shown along all of the delegate sashes when they were going to be getting sashed by Joshua Ponte, the director of wardrobe at Miss Universe this year. And we saw some other sashes of countries that actually didn't make it in or we didn't hear anything about, which were the sashes for Afghanistan and Palestine. And I think it's very interesting that those sashes were there, but there was no mention about it by the Miss Universe organization, even though there was mention about other countries that didn't have sashes there. Honestly, it kind of felt a little strange to have them there, considering that it didn't seem like there was any attempt to have these countries represented. It almost seemed like they were just trying to show that they were gonna have 130 countries. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to the countries that aren't represented and don't get to see their ladies or the women of their countries showcased on a stage like this. So I didn't really like that they just had those sashes parading around them to show that they were going to maybe have 130. Besides the sashes present there was also when the girls' headshots started getting posted on the Choicely website, so you could vote for your favorites to make it into the top 30 for finals night. There was also the options to vote for Mali and Gambia, which were never crowned or appointed. These options were eventually removed from the website. So it does seem that they were really trying to do everything that they could to make it into the top 30, but they just didn't get it done, which means that the record for most delegates at one international pageant remains unbroken by Miss World 2013 with 127 delegates. So close. A lot of people are happy with the result of the edition, and I fully understand Victoria will be an amazing Miss Universe, and at the end of the day, we got a great winner. But I just think that this edition was too much of a shit show for us to just move on. I want to demand change from within the organization. I say that we continue to vocalize that we want leadership while keeping things respectful and constructive. I think, so I've come up with an idea. If you go to the Miss Universe website and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a section that says Get in Touch. If you click on the link that says Comments and Questions, it will redirect you to your email so you can reach out to the Miss Universe's feedback team. You could also just email them directly to feedback@missuniverse.com. I think that if enough of us vocalize our concerns regarding the leadership's treatment of the delegates and their statements to the public, then maybe they'll have to take these concerns seriously. I'm sure a lot of you might think that this is a waste of time, but I just want to present an avenue that may lead to some productive change. When we go out and criticize the leadership of this organization, we need to be specific about the changes that we want and not focus on petty things that are going to delegitimize our concerns, such as hating on Anne for being a trans woman or criticizing Raul on his appearance. Let's be clear on the changes that we want to see. I've written a template email for this purpose for you guys to use if you'd like to vocalize your desire for new leadership in the Miss Universe organization. If you'd like to add more or make any changes, please feel free. The email template is going to be in the description box below. Change is not going to come from inaction and silence. We need to tell them how we feel, but we need to do it right. So, God. But anyways, for my next video, I'm going to do trivia and stats for this past edition, so I'm excited for that. It's going to be a way more fun and easygoing, lighthearted video, so please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Please leave a comment telling me what you thought of this edition and if you thought that anybody deserved to go further. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this Miss Universe edition, in general, and for just being here for my YouTube debut. You guys have just been amazing. So many of you have been so positive in the comments. I'm just so grateful. Don't forget to leave a like or a dislike so that I know how you guys felt about the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!